Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and today we're starting a series to play The Curse of Monkey Island, the third game of the Monkey Island series. Now, we've already covered Monkey Island 1 and 2, Monkey Island, and then um, Monkey Island 2, LeChuck's Revenge, I believe is the second game's name. And we've played the fifth game, which was the Telltale kind of reboot of the Monkey Island series that didn't have Ron Gilbert really involved. Ron Gilbert's not involved in this one either, so he has said he would like to buy the rights back from Disney, who now owns LucasArts, uh, and reboot the series, starting with a third game that would move the story further from where we ended in the second point. Now, the reason why we're doing this out of order like this is simply a matter of weirdness in availability of certain games. The Telltale games, I believe I got in a bundle buying almost all the Telltale games back when I bought it, which wasn't all of them, certainly before Telltale went out of business. And the first two games were bundled together, but the third game, Curse of Monkey Island, and then the fourth game, Escape from Monkey Island, either I had not heard about or simply weren't available. Also, I don't know, I'm fairly certain I've never played the Curse of Monkey Island. So, in the first setup, there's a discussion on Steam. This is using the Scum VM emulator. Virtual machine. There's a discussion about how to improve the graphics, so let's just talk about that quickly. You're supposed to hit F1 to get to the menu here, and then return to the launcher, and then this options button will give you the options for everything that is being used by the emulator. This launcher through Steam is the 2.0 version of the launcher from 2017, 3-year-old as of this recording version. You could get a more modern version, but odds are there are 0 bugs in the 2.0 version, and this is closest to the experience you'll have just hitting the play button on Steam. So you could click edit games to get the specific options for this one game. But it's easier just to do global options. And what you want to do is take this from either being 3x by default, which it probably is, which means it's going to take the 640 by 480 pixels, and for every 1 pixel do a 3 by 3 grid expansion, so it is closer to like a 1080p resolution. Personally, I would say something like the Super 2 SAI might be a good choice to scale up and have the graphics have a post effect on it, or high quality 3x might be a good option too. But what is suggested in the discussions on Steam is just to use OpenGL. OpenGL is fine too. It's really almost a matter of taste, and it is definitely changing the graphics for the better. So you're kind of doing your own little remaster of the game. If you want to play it regularly, you just do normal, no scaling, or you do 3x, which would scale up but not change the pixels or in any other way. But they say do OpenGL and then click filter graphics. And there's really not any options here. You just click it, and then for safety's sake, when you have an apply and OK button, I would just say click apply, then click OK, like that, and then you just click start. And then that brings you back to where you are. This game came out after Full Throttle, and it has a more animated look to it. It's not a 2D flat animation style that the first two games look like, and it kind of creates this growing problem as you start to look at the Monkey Island series, because the characters just are not consistently drawn throughout the game. Whereas you can touch up graphics fairly well, you have to pretty much announce a full remaster if you're going to change what a character looks like. Like the Lara Croft series, I guess, is a great example of that. You really can't go any further with the original Lara Croft series, where it had like 48 polygons to draw her, and try and do a modern game with that. They needed to do the reboot and change her into a 3D looking character, and by rebooting the story and rebooting the graphics, and at the same time it allowed a good jump on point. Unfortunately, they also kind of rebooted the gameplay style from Lara Croft, the Lara Croft series, so there's a little bit of a lacking of feeling, and they had different writers, so the characterization might be a little bit different. OpenGL, though, probably will work fairly well with this animation style. This is the last game made by LucasArts to use the ScumVM engine, and after that they started using the Grime engine, which was more of a 3D engine. That doesn't really mean anything for... No, it wasn't called the ScumVM engine, it was just called the Scum engine. VM stands for virtual machine. And it doesn't really affect the fact, because there is a side project called Residual that I think at some point may have just been integrated into the ScumVM launcher, and it handles Grime type games, and ScumVM has expanded itself to emulate a lot of games. For instance, Sierra games that were definitely not programmed with the script creation utility for Maniac Mansion, which is what Scum stands for. And yeah, they've pretty much touched everything they could that used that engine, and now they're just expanding more and more to being a general early 90s point-and-click adventure emulator, or game emulator in general. That's enough talking to the screen. We have two choices here, and these are difficulty sections, and I wasn't really sure that was what they were suggesting here. We could play The Curse of Monkey Island, being a tale of swashbuckling adventure, or you can play The Curse of Monkey Island Mega Monkey, being a tale of swashbuckling adventure with more puzzles. So it's the exact same thing, but with more puzzles. So it's an easy and a hard mode. Since I've never played this game before, I think we go with the hard mode, and I think that would be fine. I imagine there is a bit of influence from Full Throttle, where Full Throttle had some puzzles, but not really a lot, and wasn't really that long of a game. So this could be pretty short and simplistic if I were to play it on the regular mode. The other thing to take from this is this was the first game that had no voice acting in it. And that's going to be weird. To go from a game that's well known for being a talkie. Here we're getting a THX clone. Curse of Monkey Island. The monkeys are listening. And that probably sounded really good. Of when it first came out. There's nothing to really do about the black bars on the side. I could stretch the image certainly, but it would just ruin the aspect ratio. So we're gonna hear a lot of music. It's almost gonna be like a silent movie, but you can already tell that the animation is different and there's a lot more motion here. the 6-year break from 1991 to 1997 is a generation or two. Storyline wise, the last time we saw I forget his name, Guybrush Threepwood.
Captain's log, Guybrush Threepwood.
Oh, he is talking.
Lost at sea for days
this
now.
must be an
I have
updated
no crew
version.
or navigational instruments. No provisions except a half-eaten corn dog, and unless I find water soon, I'm surely done for. Only the hope of finding my love, Elaine, keeps me going.
But
my quest for the fabulous treasure called Big Whoop has left me in this sorry state. I thought it would bring me fame and glory. Instead, it delivered me into the clutches of my enemy, the zombie pirate LeChuck. I had thwarted his evil plot to marry Elaine, and he was after revenge. Really, really thirsty now. If only I could have a small drink of fresh water, I might have the strength to sail on. Oh, but I know there's nothing but ocean for miles and miles. If I could reach land, I might find water and some food. Fruit, maybe. Something to fight off the scurvy and help me get my strength back. Maybe some bananas. Oh, why do I torture myself like this? I might as well wish for some chicken and a big mug of grog for all the good it'll do me. Oh, my sweet Elaine. Am I cursed to starve here on this ocean without seeing your face just one more time? Am I...
Yeah, I've got the audio particularly loud. We may have to turn it down a little bit. So that was a decent intro, but it didn't really explain what the ending of the previous game was. So you kind of don't know why he's sitting in a bumper car, or what happened at the end of the last game, which was pretty crazy, even compared to the ending of the first game. The second game does just devolve into you hallucinating that you're a child in an amusement park, and apparently the amusement park at least was magicked into existence somewhat, because we're still seeing it. So just it's almost reality broke down, and a stupid ending was given because the writers couldn't think of a way of wrapping up the story. It's probably a decently larger amount of people that worked on this game. It's weird to see the credits displayed this way, though. Like, games generally don't put all of your credits at the beginning of a game. They want to throw you into it, and you can see it's just based on characters created by Ron Gilbert. He really had no involvement.
Fire!
We need to turn on the subtitles at some point also. Yeah, this feels a lot more like a cartoon than a point-and-click adventure game, just on how much it's animated.
How many times do I have to tell you, LeChuck? I just don't feel that way about you.
Elaine?
By my congealed blood, you'll learn to love me. Sail with me, and I'll make you queen of the dead.
I can't. I'm washing my hair tonight.
That's a really long pause to think a response.
Pines for your every gentle caress.
It makes it seem dull. And then the animation just stands there.
I don't think my father would approve of me dating the undead. And you're probably too nice a zombie pirate for me anyway.
Now they're not animating their mouths because she's so far away.
Let's face it, LeChuck. You're an evil, foul-smelling, vile, codependent villain, and that's just not what I'm looking for in a romantic relationship right now.
Darn your riddles, you saucy female! What do you mean? Ah! Oh!
You're a bloodthirsty monster who's already kidnapped me once, tortured my friends, and taken from me the only man I ever loved. Guybrush Threepwood.
Ah, how romantic.
Yeah, it feels a lot more like a early 90s
Shaboy!
cartoon. But then just like weird pauses
Threepwood.
that I don't know, maybe in the original CD-ROM game it took so long to load the animation
Guybrush?
that they had to put in these
Guybrush
weird
Threepwood,
pauses.
By my gangrenous
Or
gut,
they just
I don't
had
know how you escaped my
a
carnival
different
of the damned.
different
But you
animation
won't
team
escape
to
a
the
taste of
audio
my
team,
blade.
and they weren't working well together.
Ah!
Just weird pause. And certainly it's not my modern
Lass has spirit.
computer that's gonna add pauses like that.
Throw him in the hold. I'll finish him after the battle.
Although the Scum VM
Turtles, the
emulator
longboats,
probably would have to
and
recreate
the flaming
any limitations
cannonball.
of the current day and time. It can't really, it's not their stated goal, at least, to improve games. If anybody wants to improve Curse of Monkey Island, then that needs to simply be Disney. Like they could fund a remaster and either hire somebody to do it
Only
or
get through this one
rebuild
door,
their
and then I could easily
their
overpower the armed guards above,
internal
slip over the side, and make for the
departments
shore.
Quit your
that they fired
mumbling,
everybody
Captain.
from. Alright. So yeah, this really isn't an animation style that particularly does work well. I should have done this at the beginning, speech and subtitles in both. I don't know at what point the voice acting was added, and we'll see if maybe later on that is the case. We run into a situation. Let's see if we can maybe get everything down to. This is gonna be a nightmare to try to get all the audio balanced on the exact same number. There we go, got it. But I'll probably have to change it again. Maybe we won't see talking when he looks at objects and such, and we'll only hear talking in certain points. But yeah, there's a style here that still really isn't well suited for OpenGL. I think a high quality 3x probably would be better. I don't know why nobody has said that on the Steam discussion boards, although those boards do tend to stay really quiet. And we mostly know the backstory, but just to, again, try to put more detail in it, at the end of the second game, you solve a puzzle that is rather weird, and it's like you find out that your parents are the same as LeChuck's parents at first, and then you find out that you're actually at an amusement park as a child with your older brother, LeChuck, who's not a pirate ghost, and it's like just this weird breakdown of reality. It's like as if Guybrush Threepwood had taken LSD or something, and it's just like, oh, this doesn't make sense. This doesn't make sense. This completely violates the reality of the game. Where up until that point in the Monkey Island series, as far as I recall, I'm pretty sure that Guybrush may have made some comments to break the fourth wall, but the reality of the Monkey Island world was that this was a Pirates of the Caribbean style time and world, and magic existed, sure, but it wasn't that weird or that crazy. in a weird way, even the Telltale game takes kind of a beloved character and then makes them the villain for no good reason. And that kind of breaks the established Ron Gilbert rules. And maybe that is just me being a nerd, and I'm complaining like Star Wars people complained when midi-chlorians became a thing in Star Wars. Instead of the Force just being a mystical, magical force, it all of a sudden became this science that made less sense or didn't really help the story in any way. But I would definitely say I didn't really love the ending of the second game, and it seems like most people didn't really love the ending of the second game. To go 6 years and not even have Ron Gilbert come back and work on the sequel does speak to kind of a failure of confidence to make a trilogy of games, or what eventually turned into a whole series of games. So let's actually play the game now.
Ye scurvy dogs!
What I'm going to be looking for is if the
This'll
subtitles
make you rue the day.
say something different than what
Avast ye
is being said
swabs,
out
prepare for your
loud.
doom.
The other point to
You drink
take from
Bill's
this
water, and your mother's dress you funny.
will be how much gameplay is here and how much repetition of gameplay
Take that.
mechanics are. So we have a cannon restraining the rope. So a lot of this is just Looney Tunes logic.
Let's see if
We
you can
need
take
to
this.
find something, I think, to break this
I'll reduce
rope.
your fort to
So it
rubble.
shoots and then breaks the lock door. We have 2 helium balloons from the
I feel
ending
like
of the
I could
previous
take
game.
on the world.
I would have much preferred this game starting with just a previously on Monkey Island. It showed the ending of the last game, showed what happened exactly after the point we last saw. We see
Somehow,
maybe a
I
few
find all this
minutes
violence
after the point.
desensitizing.
So this is the new
I see a diorama of the children of the world living in peace and freedom. No, wait. It can't be that. It's just too dark to make out what's in there.
So we have, like Full Throttle, a examine, a unlock or use, a talk to option. And that seems like that's gonna be all you can do. So 3 options versus a verb box that you would have had in like Mainland Mansion, which would have had 9 action verbs. Much like Full Throttle. Even Full Throttle, though, I believe had 4 options, and just reducing it down to 3 makes it easier to program everything, and it makes it less likely that you'll just hear the exact same thing over and over again, but
It's an old short.
it's
freight
gonna
rope.
make all the puzzles easier.
It's all tangled up in all that debris. I can't pick it up. I've got enough fiber in my diet already.
So I don't feel like this is the same voice actor, and that's gonna be weird. Let's see. And you can probably play this pretty fast
Nice cannonballs.
and
Nah.
not try to do every single
They're too heavy to
thing.
carry.
So
I don't want to talk to the ramrod.
yeah, you're gonna get a lot of default responses like that. So we take the ramrod, we shove it down our pants. That's a previous gag that they've done. Alright. So we can go out in the window.
Can't quite squeeze past this cannon.
Move out of the way! I can't fire the cannon with you standing there.
So we can
There's
look.
a strange glow coming from that porthole.
Let's see if we can open
I
it.
can't reach it.
So we can use the ramrod.
I can't reach it. The cannon's already loaded.
What else do we have to click on this?
I can't use a balloon with that.
I suspect we may have these balloons
No.
for the entirety of the game and they have no value. It's weird because you have to left click and then select if you want to do that. But then you just immediately right click to pull up the inventory, where it would feel like you would have to maybe hold down the inventory, and feels like it would just be easier to have the inventory down at the bottom, particularly in this scene. And yeah, we're not really jumping into any action. We've got a escape the room puzzle.
I can't reach it.
So we can see if this is like super easy to escape.
It's solid wood. I can't push it open. That doesn't need to be loaded. That doesn't need to be loaded.
Alright.
I could never untie that big a knot.
So we need something that would work here, but unfortunately there's no like spacebar thing. Spacebar pauses the game. I was hoping that perhaps that would instead highlight everything that we can interact with. So we can examine them, we can talk to them, and we can push them.
I don't think I've ever seen a cuter pirate.
Stay away!
And then we got whole lines of dialogue here. So we can start with the standard Indiana Jones joke.
I'm selling these fine leather jackets.
Really?
There's no achievement or anything.
I'm lying.
In that case, I don't want one.
Well, sorry we couldn't make a deal.
So
Cross
it
me
really is
again,
just
and
up
I'll
to you.
chum for sharks with you.
Up to you whether you want to go through all of these options or not. Is that hook for real? Are you wearing a fake beard? You sound pretty. Can I borrow your cannon for a second?
Can I borrow your cannon for a second?
No, you scheming scalawag! You scrappy scofflaw! You steaming souffle!
Hey, wait a minute. You're not a pirate. Wally! Don't you recognize me? It's Guybrush.
This is the map
Threepwood.
maker that
Oh, gee.
you
Hello, Mr.
ruined the
Wood.
life of.
The last time I saw you, we were prisoners in LeChuck's dungeon.
And it
Why
just
would you
seemed
sign
like
on with
I
the ship of the living dead.
Well, Mr. Brush, at
got
first
jumped
I had some
into a
misgivings about
cutscene
it.
here.
But thanks to LeChuck's seminars, motivational lectures, and audio books on Parrot, I've become a vicious corsair. You can too. Ask me how.
Let's see. And that did start a new thing. We want items, always in a point-and-click adventure, so we'll ask about
Do
literature.
you have any literature I could look at?
Here,
Yep.
this leaflet explains the basic philosophy I follow.
Okay.
I'm not in the mood for sales hype.
I'm not gonna try to really go through everything. It'll just take way too long, and it's not really worth it. It's not a good experience. It's not a natural experience.
What are LeChuck's plans?
He's been working on a secret weapon, some incredibly powerful cannonball. He's going to use it to blow down the walls of the fort, so his crew can overrun the island.
What's behind that door?
Ooh! That's the door to LeChuck's treasure hold. There's heaps and piles of gold and silver. He's brought all the loot he's ever stolen to give to Elaine. LeChuck is convinced that he can buy Elaine's love.
Let's see.
Set me free, Wally.
I can't, Mr. Brush. I'm the evil pirate Bloodnose now. And besides, even if you got up on deck, LeChuck would cut you to ribbons.
So, Bloodnose, probably because he picks his nose with the hook hand. We're gonna have to exhaust a lot of these,
Snap out of it, Wally.
I guess.
Bloodnose to you, you scurvy sea bass.
See what this does.
You're a failure as a pirate.
Shut your trap, you yellow-bellied blowfish. One more peep out of you, and I'll do you in.
I think you might be able to die. And it seems like I have no choice here.
Peep.
Yes, scabrous swab. One more word, and I'll let you have it.
I'm apparently going to apparently I'm gonna die, and that's apparently what the story wants.
You haven't got the guts.
That's it. I'm gonna blast you. I'm gonna... I can't do it. I just can't. You're right, Mr. Wood. I'm just not a pirate. I'm not ferocious or bloodthirsty or hateful or anything. I'm not even unpleasant. Oh. Ah!
Oh, there.
So, yeah, stupidly easy dialogue puzzle there, and I feel like that's gonna be part of the problem. Feels like we may very well run into that. Let's see. And you can't even easily look at
Piracy,
things.
The LeChuck way. Chapter 1. How to get more than 15 men on a dead man's chest.
So if we were to
This has to be used with something else. That doesn't need to be loaded.
Alright, well, we're gonna try this with this to get the knot out.
Hooking the rope won't do anything. The rope is too short and frayed to be of any use. The hook is too big to fit through the grate.
Okay. Can we maybe move this? Can we put these two together? Yes, we can. Can we now use this on
I
this?
can't reach it.
Or this?
No.
Or this?
Can't squeeze past this cannon to get over there.
Or that?
I can't reach it.
Is there anything else here? So yeah, if you don't know what exactly to do, which often is going to be the case in a point-and-click adventure game, particularly an old point-and-click adventure game with no hint system or anything like that, you are going to kind of have to just use the try everything on everything approach and scan over everything.
Scraping a hook on that would be pointless. The rope is too short and frayed to be of any use. Scraping a hook on that would be pointless.
Alright. Cannon. Use. Well, it seems like we can actually shoot things.
Oops.
So, it's not expecting a mini game.
Sorry.
Watch where you're shooting!
And it seems like the controls are pretty loose by a modern PC standards. Mouses. So.
Hey, I'm getting pretty good at this. Ooh, gross. All the bones and stuff are floating towards the ship.
So.
Well, they've messed with the wrong skull this time.
So now we know what the hooks here are for.
If I could just get my hands peeled. Hey!
And I guess that too.
I can't squeeze past this cannon to get over there.
And I couldn't move the cannon out of the way. So what did we just get? A skeleton arm? What is on the skeleton arm?
It's a skeleton arm.
And where did we get a cutlass?
I don't want to use this cutlass for no reason.
Was that attached to the skeleton
That
arm?
doesn't need cutting. That doesn't need cutting. That doesn't need cutting. That doesn't need cutting.
Alright, so are we supposed to put a skeleton arm
No.
in that?
I can't reach it.
Are we supposed to connect this to
I
that?
can't use the skeleton arm with that.
So we're getting more items. It's getting a little bit more confusing. But some of it's not super confusing. Like, a knife obviously can cut the restraining rope. And that might be the only thing we needed.
Haha! Taste cold steel, feeble cannon restraint rope.
Alright, now fire the cannon.
Now, with the demon flames of this voodoo cannonball, I'll blast my significant other into the significant other world. That'll show her how much I
This is
really
a
care.
weird starting section, and you can tell that the animations
Neptune's
for the
naval
cutscenes
back
are
was a close one.
not quite as nice as the main game animations. Which you'd think it would be the opposite way. But yeah, I bet they ran out of budget. And probably some just actual limitations on the ability to make good graphics
Hey, I lost
in
my cutlass when the ship capsized.
the cutscenes. Yeah, I bet it was just so expensive to digitally animate things back then that you had problems like that. But we went from a single room puzzle to being in another single room puzzle, and I have to say apologies. It took so much setup here. Let's go ahead and make a save, even though it doesn't seem like it really matters that much. I doubt this game would crash or anything, but unfortunately it took all of nearly 40 minutes of time just to get through the first couple of cutscenes and that first room and just all the setup of me talking. So far, not really as impressive as the first couple of games, because in the first couple of games you had at least a small portion of islands to walk around and look. This feels rather dumbed down and simplified, and who knows what the experience would have been had I not been playing on the more difficult setting. And unfortunately, ScumVM probably can't emulate difficulty options, so there's not likely to be a way that I could just hit like F1 and then come to options and change the difficulty. Yeah, there's nothing like that as an option. Most point and click adventure games did not have difficulty settings. So yeah, who's to say how cutscene based and dumbed down that experience would have really been on easy mode, or maybe it's just about the same for the first puzzle, but later on maybe it gets more simplified. It is very possible that we find by the time we're done with this game that there are some puzzles that are just kind of ridiculous and redundant. There were definitely some tweaks in the remakes of The Secret of Monkey Island where they took some of those puzzles and polished them, made them less random, made them much more reasonable as far as getting the right things that you needed to get when you potentially could get a random thing every time. Well, I was planning on having 30-minute episodes, so this is going to be the end of this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a bunch of links down below in the description box. And if you want to support me further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.